my favourite aspect of the Holy Trinity, and probably the hardest part to quantify. But if we lost this component, my goodness, it would all be over. And that's the artisan. You can have fibre and water, but without the hands of the artisans, you don't have a product. They're our unsung heroes, but those trained hands are the lifeblood of any of these products. For over 2 centuries, the British Isles have been famous at making incredible textiles, and nowhere is more important than the makers in Hawick. It's not dubbed the cashmere capital of the world for nothing. From those halcyon days of producing 1 million pairs of cashmere hosiery a year, all the way to the recessions of the 90s and noughties, when it looked like our whole cashmere industry could be obliterated because of the want from the consumer for cheaper and faster cashmere. The community stayed strong and really dug down into their values. And so too did the customers, who really believed in buying from Scotland. There isn't a couturier in the world that doesn't have a speed dial to a cashmere mill. I promise you, it is a glittering array of who's who's, which is really very cool. And the reason that that happens is artisans. These are people who have trained for decades, who have been doing these jobs, being passed from hand to hand. And as a custodian of these practices, it's so important that each of the pieces that I celebrate are done so by the artisans in the geography that they have become famous for. I want to talk about Lochcarron of Scotland. They are the people who make my shepherd's plaids. They are tartan experts right in the heart of the borders. Why it's important for me to have the plaids made in the borders is because a shepherd's plaid is classically done in a border check. So 500 years ago, shepherds were physically wrapping themselves in huge pieces of material like this, so that they could go and do their job. They would physically go and pick up lambs and put them in the material to be able to transport them back to the farm. The aspect of this isn't just quaint, it's in the fabric. To take the piece away from its geography just makes no sense to me. And that's why I'm such a firm believer in being a custodian of the piece coming from the place where it was born. This then transcended workwear, and it was hijacked by Sir Walter Scott, who was romancing the crown at the time and also trying to bring Scotland back into a union fold. We had just had tartan outlawed, and tartan was not allowed to be worn or woven anywhere. By the time you rock up in the 1850s to Sir Walter Scott, he adopts the shepherd's plaid as this sort of formal piece of Highland wear, very sort of peacocky. We still see it today in Scottish Highland dress. It's that huge piece of colourful material that's wrapped around the kilt. The piece has to be woven in the borders. It's a borders check. It started as workwear. This is not for optics. This is something that is so important. These people have been making these items in these geographies for centuries, and as a custodian of that, it's integral to me to make sure the next 100 years sees us making in these geographies. That takes me to Fair Isle, where a handful of women still knit. If you don't know where Fair Isle is, it's a tiny little island off of Scotland before you hit Norway. You will have heard of a Fair Isle pattern, a Fair Isle sweater. That's those, motifs that you see that are very, very colourful in jumpers. They became internationally famous because of shipping. Women were trading with men, going about their business, and the print became internationally famous. Marie, who makes the jumpers, is one of a handful of women who still knits today. To keep the community going, there's only 50 of them on island. They all have to pitch in. Marie does a shift at the airport, and she'll do a shift on the fire brigade. This is a necessity inside the island. And then when it comes to spring, Marie is lambing for like 8 weeks. She's doing so many jobs, and in between that time, its signature piece is knitted. It's incredible. That takes us to the artisans here in Guernsey. The Guernsey as a sweater is a jumper that has about 500 years or so of heritage stitched into every single one of those garments. Knitted by people on the island, it is an integral piece of workwear that has transcended the island and is internationally famous. Roughly about 1 kilogram in weight, it is used to keep you warm, dry, and looking pretty cool. The story of the artisans here is ever changing. Once originally knitted by hand, Arthur is my artisan here, but he's way more than an artisan. What that man does not know about knitting is not worth remembering. He's been in the textiles business for 60 years. One of my favourite things to do on a Saturday morning is jump in his car and head up to the factory and watch him knit. I can lose myself in a whole day while he fires up the incredibly noisy, but sounds a little philharmonic to me, knitting machines which are called Shimas, and sets about knitting the next lot of Guernsey knits. It took Arthur and I just a little over a year to work out the correct gauge, the correct thread count, the correct tightness and tension inside those knits to make sure that the Cashmere Guernsey was the exact same as a new British wool Guernsey, so that the feeling was the same, the denseness was the same, it's just that the softness of the Scottish Cashmere could come through. Arthur is a national treasure in my opinion. He had a textiles business in the Midlands in the 80s and 90s, and when he decided to retire, he left the Midlands for Guernsey 20 years ago and decided to take 2 of his Shimas with him. That career alone produced the majority of Next's knitwear for the best part of a decade. He has a piece in the Guggenheim that he created himself. This man is an absolute legend and the epitome of what an artisan is. It's more than information passed down from one person to the next. He just eats, breathes and sleeps this. So when you're holding that Guernsey, you're not just holding a piece of actual history, you also have the expertise of a man who's had his whole career in textiles knitted physically into that piece. It's worth its weight in gold to me. Now the geography of this isn't for optics, it is integral to me. These artisans in the place where they are knitting and weaving is as much part of this story as the piece itself. And to make sure that the next generation of knitters and weavers is able to come through is the whole point of doing this. We have to celebrate these artisans. It's really important that you know who is making these pieces, because without that knowledge and without supporting that, we could lose it, but not on my watch. If you've ever tried to knit something yourself, you will know that it's not as easy as you think. I am a fair weather crocheter, so I understand the gravitas of what an artisan actually does and the processes that they've had to go through to master their craft. It's not for the faint-hearted. It's not as easy as you think. And if you do think that making a piece of clothing is simple, then I really do urge you to try it. You source that yarn by yourself, you get knitting, and then you go out and wear it, and then let me know how you get on. Because I bet you it will completely change your opinion on how you wear clothes and how you source clothes. I remember being in the mill at DC Dalgleish with our head artisan who would hold up a bale of tartan that had just come off the loom. She would hold it there passionately saying there wasn't a break of light coming through that stitch work because the machines were operated by her and it was something that she took great pride in. I still have a whole heap of material from there to this day. The looms there certainly did hit in a really different way. DC Dalgleish is no longer with us, but those 2 looms that we made material off of went to 2 incredible places, one up in the north of Scotland called Prickly Thistle and one in Edinburgh which is called Stuart Christie. It fills me with such happiness that those machines are still operating and still producing tartan, and that's the Holy Trinity. When all 3 components are present, the fleece from Inner Mongolia, the water that turns the fleece into yarn, and the artisans who physically weave and knit the end product, you have something that is so incredibly special with the best quality yarn that I could find across the globe. It's the Fair Isle knitted by Marie. It's the Guernsey knitted by Arthur. It's those Plaids in their geography in Selkirk. Each piece of the Holy Trinity made tangible. That's the goat, the water and the artisan. All present in something that you can physically hold in your hand, that you can wear and that you can pass on from one generation to the next.